it's based in the German language, Yiddish.
Yeah.
A lot of words in Yiddish. Grun is green and weg is way. The weg. Auf dem Weg means on the way. Okay. Well, welcome to the brave of the world, girls. Oh, look at this. This is all very meaningful. This was our last class. It was a great class. We explained here. You remember what we were talking about? Probably you don't remember. I don't blame you. I hardly remember. That's why this class is always so exciting, because I always forget what we learned before. Constantly relearning it. What does it mean, Malchus the Godless? Moichin the Godless. Moichin the Godless. Moichin is brains, Godless is greatness. What is it? What does it mean? It says in the Beinoni, that is what we're learning, chapter 12, that in the morning, a person feels inspired when he says Kriya Shema, and when you go to daven, you stand, inspired. You really believe in God. You're standing in front of God. That's because at this point in time, Hashem is shining into his Moichin the Godless, into his biggest brain, into his big brains, so to speak. Moichin the Godless is, in our terms, is our brain power. And our brain power is aroused because his brain power is aroused. What does that mean? What does it mean your brain power is aroused? It means when your whole spiritual part of your being, your soul powers are beaming in on your brains. So you're alert, mentally alert. What's the opposite of mentally alert? Mentally passive, mentally asleep, right? So that's why in the morning when we wake up, we experience on our level alertness, mental alertness. But first you gotta have a cup of coffee and you gotta do this until you get there. But the reason that that happens is because that's what's happening in Shemayim. In Shemayim, why is it that in the morning the world feels a renewal? If you stay up all night long, you're with friends, you know, not like you're at a class that goes on all night long until you fall asleep. You're with friends, you're having a great time, you stay up all night, and all of a sudden 4 o'clock comes, and it's morning. And instead of feeling tired, you feel refreshed. Why do you feel refreshed? Because the whole world is being refreshed. You don't believe it? Go outside, walk in the street. What are you going to hear? All the birds are singing, chirping away. They were quiet during the night. Now they're all chirping. The sun didn't rise yet, but the birds know that the morning is coming. Because that's what happens in the morning. Hashem renews the whole act of creation. We say in the davening many times a day. It's written in the Psalms of King David. Hashem renews the act of creation every single day. So that's what happens in the morning. And creation, your life forces come into you, starting with your brains. First, your brains wake up, and then the rest of you wakes up. That sends life down into the rest of your being. So that's called Moichin to Godless, brains of greatness. So Hashem focuses his energy on his highest powers, which is Chachma, in the world of Atzilus, and then that filters down the whole order of creation into Chachma of the world of Bria, which is creation, and then that filters down into Chachma of the world of formation, forms, which is, you understand, the spiritual, and then that filters down into the world of physical realities. And there's the spiritual side of it, spiritual side of our physical world. And then there's our physical world. So all filters down, 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 down. But each phase according to its level. And so you feel, another day, you feel a fresh start. You left behind the problems of yesterday, the misgivings, the anxieties, you start all over again. So this is called Moichin, the godless of the infinite. The Ein Sof means the infinite. Baruch Hu, blessed be He. Which translates, Moichin is brain power. Godless is in its greatest form as the infinite. Blessed be He, focuses his life in his brain. So that's why in the morning, good morning, Shelley. That's why in the morning we feel inspired when we say Shema and when we daven. Good morning. Danny Hess. Down here, come sit right here. Right here, close to me where I can get my eyes on you. Baruch. Ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'dvarim. Okay. Miss Greenway. What's your first name again? Nicole. Are you just coming for one day, a visit, or you're giving for a month? Where are you when you're not here? After the month?
College.
College?
Yeah.
Oh, which college?
FIT.
Oh, you're FIT, that's designer. What are you going to design? Dresses, stage sets?
Oh yeah, actually I want to do event planning.
Want to do what?
Event planning. Planning events.
Event planning. Oh, wow.
That's an option.
Uh-huh. It's a little hard for me to hear you because the air conditioner it's quiet compared to other air conditioners, but it's still making noise. Sarkon isn't here. Rojo, always here. Oh, it's a little. Esther Bela in here. Good for you, Esther Bela. Glad to see you on Shavuos. You were there. Michal. Danny Hess made it. Ariel is back, and Nicole. I'm marking this all down for Monday, but really today's Thursday. All right. Good. So we're up to chapter 12. We should also be feeling like in the morning we feel a sense of renewal. We should be feeling that now. Because our whole connection with Hashem just got renewed. It's like a new year. You see, we didn't talk about this on Shavuos, but it's a very important idea. It says on Shavuos, the Gezerah was canceled. The Gezerah is a decree. What was the decree? The decree was that spiritual things did not belong down here. And physical things did not belong up there. It says in the Medrash, which tells these kinds of extraordinary stories that are hard to imagine, that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up on the Mount Sinai to get the Torah, there were angels who greeted him. Well, the angels weren't there before. Yeah, sure, because they were before. Angels aren't limited in time or space. He got up to the level where he could perceive the angels. And you know what they said to him? They said to him, who invited you? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? This doesn't belong to you. It's not your place. This is our place. He says, I came to get the Torah. He said, the Torah doesn't belong to you, it belongs to us. Up here, we can appreciate the Torah. You come from the physical world, you people can appreciate the Torah. Pack of self-centered, sinful people. You don't deserve the holiness of Hashem's Torah. Moshe was very frightened. I mean, it was a big, fiery forces, terrifying. Really was terrifying. A colleague of the Alter Rebbe, Reb Zusha, who writes the introduction to the Tanya, telling you it's a good book, you should learn it. Everybody writes a book, wants somebody important to write at the beginning that it's a good book, you should learn it. You should buy it and pay for it so you can pay the rent. I once asked my father, Oliver Shalom, about a certain book that I'd read when I was a young man, my early 20s. My father was a businessman. He'd worked his way up from poverty. And I asked him, why do you think that the author, Steinbeck was his name, why did he write this book, Travels with Charlie? My father said, I'll tell you why I wrote it. Because he needed to pay the rent. He wanted to make a living. I said, oh, come on, Dad. There has to be a higher reason. No, he was dead right. 100% right. So the angel said to Moshe, what are you doing up here? There's no place for you. So, and also Reb Zusha said, prayed to Hashem. Reb Zusha told us we should buy the book, the Tanya. We should learn it and live it. He prayed to have the perception of angels, that he should perceive Hashem like the angels do. And because he was such a sincere young man, Hashem said to him, you know what Hashem said to him? Okay. Hello? He said, hello. He said, he said, okay. I said, okay. And he gave him the perception that the angels have. Do you know what happened to Reb Zusha? He was so terrified, he crawled under the table and covered his head like this, like a baby. He prayed Hashem should take it away. He was terrified. He was overwhelmed by what he perceived. Good morning, To'am. To'am, are you praying for our people in Israel? We have to do a lot of extra. The Rebbe says we have to do extra. We have to say extra Tehillim today. We have to give extra charity today. Another nickel, another dime. We have to learn another verse of Torah. We have to add to show that we really care about the Torah that Hashem is giving us. If you want to know which Tehillim the Rebbe said we should learn, the extra Tehillim we should say minimum, we should say 69, 22, and 150. Oh, and 20. Extra psalms to say for the protection of our people in Israel in danger. And now you know, one of the things about Mashiach's coming is that everything comes clear. Everybody shows their true colors. So you see all the countries in the world ganging up on Israel. Israel's behind the fault for everything. They should sit back and do nothing and just let themselves be bombed. And the countries send money and arms. I was watching a report last night from the IDF. They say the Hamas has built such an elaborate underground system from Gaza, they call it the Metro, by which they move everything around, supplies, armaments, rockets. How do the rockets get to the rocket launchers without being detected? And Israel is so alert, if they detect something, they shoot it down. They do it all underground. And who supplies them? All the countries show their true colors. That's part of when Mashiach comes. That's when everybody has to stand up for what they are. All right. So when a person davens, this was our last class, if you recall. When a person davens in the morning, when the sun comes up, that's just an external expression of what's happening in spiritual realms, that Hashem is shining his energy and light into his highest quality, which is Chachma, in a completely spiritual sense. And in fact, the idea of Chachma even pre-exists that in a conceptual sense. Not that Chachma is actually in existence yet, it's just a potential to exist in Hashem, and Hashem focuses and shines his energy into that, and the energy comes all the way down so that we also wake up. And therefore, at that time, we have, it's a propitious time. Page 178. Open your books to page 178. 177. Yeah, 178. So therefore, at this time, it's propitious for every person to ascend to a higher spiritual level when he says Shema. And just like Hashem connects his inner energy with Chachma, we connect our inner energy with our brains, with our Chachma. And we become sensitive to the greatness of Hashem. How do you become sensitive to the greatness of Hashem? How do you do that? With a yogurt and banana is a good way. By thinking about the greatness of Hashem, that yogurt is coming into existence out of nothing. There you are. Out of nothing. This second. And when you say a blessing on it, you acknowledge that. You cue in on it. And you proclaim the greatness of Hashem, who gives life to absolutely everything in the universe, second by second. You have to be careful, Michal, how you eat the banana. Slowly and carefully so you don't choke on it. Some people have to have a sign in front of them when they eat. Eat slowly. It's good for your health. And when a person thinks deeply about this, about the greatness of Hashem, that every leaf on every tree and every branch and every root and every petal on every flower and every scale on every fish and every tiny little seed of the hundreds of seeds, hundreds of eggs of a mosquito on the pin, the head of a needle, are all being created out of nothing by Hashem. Not to speak of the vastness of the universe and the stars and the heavens, everything being created out of nothing. And one thinks about the greatness of Hashem, then this arouses in the middle of 178, page 178, La'order es ha'ava karish be'esh. This will cause a person to have a feeling in his heart like a burning fire of love for the source of life in him or her and the whole universe, which is the one source of life of everything, which is Hashem. And he proclaims, "Hear, O Israel, Hashem is one." And we said before, explain the idea to you, that Hashem gives us his mitzvahs to do. So if that's a mitzvah for us to proclaim the unity of God, why is that his mitzvah? Does he proclaim the unity of God? Where do we proclaim the unity of God? We put on tefillin. Men put on tefillin. What's written in the tefillin is the same thing what's written on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. That's what's written in our tefillin. But if Hashem gives us his mitzvahs to do, that means that he also puts on tefillin. He gives us his mitzvahs. We should do them. What does Hashem do? When we put on tefillin, what is Hashem doing? He says Hashem also wears tefillin. How can Hashem wear tefillin? How do I know something like that? The Medrash tells us. I believe in the Medrash. It's very holy. There were very holy people who taught it to us. They were geniuses. They knew so much. I don't know hardly anything, not even a fingernail of what they know. It's in all in the Talmud and in the Midrashim. Wisdom is just oozing out all over the place. It's so brilliant. So they tell us that it's written in the Torah that when, after the whole incident with the golden calf, and Moshe went on the mountain again, and he was praying for the Jewish people, that Hashem should forgive them. And after all, he said to Hashem, what they did wrong, they didn't even have the Torah yet. I didn't come down. I was still up on the mountain getting it. And you sent the Yetzer Hara. It's your fault, Hashem. You sent the Yetzer Hara to fool them. He did a good job. You know what the Yetzer Hara did? He showed in heaven an image. Everybody saw an image of Moshe dead. Moshe disappeared. He's gone. He's dead. They showed his funeral. And they were terrified. Who's going to lead us now? And the converts who had left Egypt to come with the Jews, idol worship was so ingrained in their psyche that they said, we need a leader. And so this golden calf started walking around. I don't want to get into that one. It's a whole long story. So where are we getting? We're getting at the fact that eventually Moshe succeeded in praying to Hashem on behalf of the Jewish people. He was our lawyer, and he convinced Hashem to forgive us. Hashem forgave us. And he taught us a special prayer to say when we seek his mercy, which is called the 13 attributes of mercy. He taught that to Moshe, and he said to Moshe, I don't want you to get hurt. I'm going to teach you this. I'm going to reveal myself to my holiness to you. I don't want you to get hurt, so I want you to go into this cave. And he showed Moshe a cave in the mountain. He covered the cave with his hand so that Moshe would not be blinded with the Reb Zusha experience that he just want to hide in terror. So he covered it with his hand, and Hashem passed by, and he gave Moshe a peek. He allowed Moshe just a little peek as he went by, because it says, no person will see my face and live, says Hashem. No person will see my face and live. He did not let Moshe see, so to speak, his face, but he gave him a peek at his backside. It says the Medrash, what did Moshe see? He saw Hashem wrapped in talis and tefillin, and he saw the back of the tefillin. So Hashem wears tefillin. That's how we know. He gives us his mitzvahs to do. So now you can ask the question, well, in our tefillin it says, Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. What's written in Hashem's tefillin? What does he say? He wears tefillin and praising himself? No. You'll never guess what's written in Hashem's tefillin. It's actually in our prayers that we say on Shabbos afternoon. It says in Hashem's tefillin, who is like unto thee, Israel? One nation in the whole world. In the whole wide world. Isn't that extraordinary? We're praising Hashem, and he's praising us. We say there's no God like you, and he says there's no people like you. It's a real love affair. It's a marriage. You know when the Jewish people got married? On Shavuos. That's the chasana. Hashem is the groom. I don't know why they say bridegroom. But Hashem is the groom, bridegroom, and the Jewish people are the kala. So when we think about these things, then just like the kala feels a lot of love under the chuppah, At this moment, we feel great burning love, fiery love in our heart for Hashem. This repeats itself every morning. The first time was at Mount Sinai. When we got married to Hashem, Hashem gave us our wedding ring. What was the wedding ring he gave us? Sabbath. The Sabbath is the wedding ring. What about the ksuba? Under the chuppah, your husband is going to give you a marriage contract. What's the marriage contract that we got from Hashem? Torah. And with this feeling of love in our heart, continuing on page 178, the person is inspired. A person is inspired to cleave to Hashem. How can you cleave to Him? You know, we have a mitzvah in the Torah to cleave to Hashem. How can you cleave to Hashem? I can hug a pillow. A little child can hug his or her doll. Little boys play with dolls too. Can hug a doll. How can you hug Hashem? Hashem is invisible. So the sages say, we have a mitzvah, it's written in the Torah, L'davka boy, we should cling to Hashem. Tells us, those are clear words from the Torah. We should cling to Hashem. How am I supposed to cling to Hashem? So it says, cling to the sages. If you cling to the sages, to the Rebbe, to the, whoever your Rebbe is, if you're a Baba, you cling to the Baba Rebbe, so on. You cling to your Rav, to your teacher, to your guide, and it will be considered to you as if you're clinging to Hashem. And what is your teacher and guide going to teach you to do? He's going to teach you how Torah, and he's going to teach you how to do mitzvahs. And that's how you cling to Hashem. So now, after Shavuos, which is our marriage, we want to show that we really want to be married to Hashem. How do we do that? By doing mitzvahs. We already do mitzvahs. What am I supposed to do? So the answer is, since Hashem is infinite, the mitzvahs are also infinite. His mitzvah, his mitzvahs. So they're also infinite. That means I could do it a little bit better. And a little bit of infinite is infinite. So it doesn't have to be a lot. Just a little bit. If until now I gave 5 cents tzedakah before I bench lift Friday afternoon, Friday evening, let's give 10 cents. If I learned about how to keep Shabbos in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, in the translation in English, or read it in the original Hebrew, about how to keep Shabbos, and I learned for 5 minutes, so I could learn for 6 minutes. It's more. More is infinite. And that's how we show that we really want to be married to Hashem. So we want to clear. So this is how we feel in the morning when we think about the greatness of Hashem. And this causes us to have a feeling of flaming, fiery love in our heart. In which side? In the right side of our heart. And this translates into the desire to cleave to Hashem through doing his mitzvahs. And there's 2 ways to do mitzvahs. There's many ways, but let's break it down into two fundamental ways. One way is by rote. It's automatic, doing it like a robot, going through the motions. He just goes through the motions. Doesn't really believe it. And the other way is to do it with all your heart, with commitment, with devotion, with inspiration, with a sense of, yes, this is what I want to do with my life. And guess what? We feel this. When do we feel this? What do we say? We feel this inspiration of Moed the godless Ein Sof is taking place in heaven. So we feel the same inspiration on our level of our moichin, our brains, we feel the inspiration. And therefore, we recite the Shema. We feel this when we recite Shema. And now what does it say in the Shema? Well, what could be the most appropriate thing to say when you have these feelings in your heart? So after you say Shema, the first thing you say after you say Shema is, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. That's it. You're with the program. In my community where I grew up, I was sent to the Reform Temple. And a friend of mine who was a wonderful football player, by the way, Jackie Messenger, was also a very talented musician. And he put these words to music, and it was so beautiful. They had a choir in the temple, and they used to sing it, and it was so inspiring. I can't remember how the tune went anymore, because it was like 70 years ago. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your might. These words which I command you today should be upon your heart. Very moving. I don't care if you're conservative, reform, reconstructionist, you pray to whom it may concern, it doesn't matter. Those words are very moving, and they touch the essence of every single Jewish soul, no matter where his father pays the dues to belong. And these are the words, when you're filled with these feelings that you want to cleave to Hashem by doing his mitzvahs and doing them with devotion, doing them with feeling, doing them out of love, then you say these words. You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Shezeu inyan hamavur b'kriyas Shema, because that's what you're saying, Shema, and that's what the Shema is all about. And that's a biblical, these are words from the Torah. That's biblical commandment. Now in commandments, there's different levels. You know, there's the written Torah that we got on Shavuos, and there's the oral Torah, which is the explanation. So which is more serious, more respected, which carries more weight, should we say? Say the written Torah carries more weight. What about the oral Torah? Well, the oral Torah is also very significant. And he goes on to say this, that these are the words of the written Torah. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul, all your might. What does that mean? With all your heart means with the right side of your heart and left side of your heart. Your Yetzer Hara should also love Hashem. How can my Yetzer Hara love Hashem? That through this kind of meditation, your Yetzer Hara says, you know what, you better get on the bandwagon. You know what's good for you. You better get out of your selfish mode and get into your believer mode. And the Yetzer Hara realizes that it's good, it's in his or her own benefit. Is your Yetzer Hara male or female? You don't have to answer. Is it a he or a she, your Yetzer Hara? It's a she. She knows you best. So does she come on time to class? She learns everything. You're going to say, I'm going to teach you a lesson, Yetzer Hara. I learned the things in Tanya class from the rabbi. I'm going to put you in your place. And she's going to say to you, you know what she's going to say to you? She says, well, I was there too, smarty. I was out there. I know just as good as you. Okay, that's not proper English. It's 179. And also, you say we blessings. There are certain blessings on Kriya Shema, which are in the prayer book, which are taught to us by the sages. That's oral Torah. What the sages teach us is oral Torah. The oral Torah didn't come later. It wasn't made up by the rabbis in a desert, any ridiculous, nonsensical myth. The oral Torah was a body of explanation given over by Moshe when he taught the Torah that Hashem gave him on Mount Sinai. He explained it. And he explained it 4 times. He explained it to Aaron and his sons. He explained it to the leaders of the Jewish people. He explained it to the the prophets and explained it to the people 4 times. Everybody heard it 4 times. The people, in turn, they heard it from the prophets. And the prophets, they heard it also from the sons of Aaron. And the sons of Aaron heard it from Moshe. So each person repeated it. In other words, Moshe said it one time to everybody, and he left. Then Aaron and his sons said it one time, and they left. And then the Nesiim, the princes, said it one time, and they left. So that everybody, the people, everybody heard it 4 times, at least once from Moshe. So that's how the Oral Torah was transmitted. It was taught at Mount Sinai, but also to get, I have to listen carefully, girls. This is very important. It's a very, very important idea you have to be aware of. That together with the teachings of the Oral Torah was also taught a body of rules how to learn the Oral Torah. So that when rabbis in the next generation, sages, wise teachers, discover some new idea that nobody even taught before, but it's there. They see it clearly in the words. So the way that they teach that idea has to follow the rules of learning. You can't just make up anything. There are rules of learning. And if you violate the rules of learning, then other sages who know these rules will throw it out. So that when the Reform rabbi comes and says, like mine did, if you come to services Saturday morning at 10:30, you can play golf with me in the afternoon. And he was a good golfer. In fact, on a golf course, you have to be very quiet because a serpent's making a shot and you make a noise, you can spoil his shot. And this rabbi of ours, he had a real loud rabbinical voice. And he would shout out, "Good shot," he would say to somebody. Another guy would mock and say, we can't do that. That's breaking the Shabbos. It doesn't follow the rules of learning Torah. You're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. How can you get to the golf course without turning on the car? Car runs with an internal combustion engine. Combustion means fire. Doesn't work. Rabbi, it's very nice, but it doesn't work. It's nice, but it's not Shabbos. It's not Torah. There are rules. And these rules of learning were given at the giving of the Torah. That's part and parcel of the Oral Torah. The Oral Torah has its own infrastructure to it. Okay? So that's called the Rabbanon, the teaching of the Rabbanon. And similarly, the teachings of the Rabbanon teach us, which we say, if you look in your Siddur, before we say Kriya Shema, there are 2 blessings which are taught to us by the rabbis, describing what's going on in heaven when we're saying Kriya Shema, how the angels are flipping out with love. And that's meant to inspire us, to put us in the right kind of mood when we say Shema, that we should say the Shema with love and commit ourselves to learning Torah and doing mitzvahs with love, to fulfill the mitzvah that we said in the Torah, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. With all your soul means even if they're going to kill you, even if you have to give up your life, even if they put you in a gas oven, even if they drag you out of your car in the streets of Lud and pummel you to death, you say, Kriya Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Like the thousands and thousands, like we learned in the last in chapter 11, the tens of thousands of tzaddikim in every generation who give their lives up for the sake of God. And with all your might, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Even with all your might. It means with every power you've got. With all that you've got. all your money. When the Alter Rebbe was put in jail because he wrote this book, and they wanted to kill him, who other Jews, of course, they wanted to have him killed, and he came out victorious, vindicated. The Russian government vindicated him. They said that he was right in everything he did. So there was a very rich man. He gave away all his money, gave away everything. He said, how could you do that? He says, I have a Rebbe. If I don't have a Rebbe, my money has no meaning. And if I have a Rebbe, I don't need the money. And I had a cup of coffee, so I have to thank Hashem. My pockets sit there here. Oral Torah. So listen, girls, the shofar at Mount Sinai on Shavuos was blowing the whole time. The shofar is a ram's horn. It's the same ram's horn that blows on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And when the Yetzer Hara hears the ram's horn blowing, he or she, depending if your Yetzer Hara is a he or a she, who causes you, who tells you lies, and gets you, tries to convince you to do bad things. Is that he or a she? Anyway, he or she, the Yetzer Hara is confounded. When he or she hears the ram's horn blowing, they get all confused. They think Mashiach is coming, and they get all nervous and confused. And therefore, if you make a good decision about keeping Torah and mitzvahs, it goes through. It's accepted. It becomes reality. And it's going on and continues until Sunday. Until Sunday. These are very special days. So take advantage of them.